Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The Print off the Cuff, presented by IIFL Wealth and Asset Management, corporate partner AU Small Finance Bank, in association with Global Insurance Brokers, airline partner SpiceJet, in association with Jindal Steel and Power Limited.
So in this crisis time in the country, there is no shortage of hot seats. There are so many hot seats, unfortunately. They are all to do with the crisis situation. But among the hottest of these is where my guest today is sitting. That is Iqbal Chahal, a 1989 batch IAS officer from Maharashtra cadre, who is now the PMC commissioner. Mumbai, as we know, is not a state, it's a city, but it has a municipal corporation which has a charter, an agenda, and a budget which is bigger than many of the states in the country. In fact, a large number of states in the country. And Mumbai also was seen to be, or feared to be, the city, given its slums, its crowding, its crowded local trains. It was anticipated to be the dark spot of India in this COVID pandemic. But it does look like, from figures now, we keep our fingers crossed, saying these things always. But I have also waited, looked at the data for past 2 weeks. It does look like Mumbai is turning the corner. So who better to talk about this than Iqbal Chahal himself? Iqbal, you, if I remember correctly, you were among the youngest to get selected to the IAS, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
How old were you then?
Sir, I was just about 21 plus, and I got in the first attempt after doing my BTech in electronic engineering from Thapar University, Patiala, sir. And I was lucky to get in the first attempt.
Yeah, you have a real degree from Thapar University. I have an honorary degree from... I got an honorary degree without having to do anything.
No, no, sir, I disagree. You deserve it.
So, Iqbal, give us an idea of Mumbai. What is it that you walked into? Because you also walked onto a burning deck last year. Because
Yes,
last
sir.
year, then the whole world's attention was on Dharavi. And after that, people started talking of Dharavi model. And this year again, it started in Maharashtra and Mumbai in a big way. And even now, there are lots of fatalities in Maharashtra, but it does look like that Mumbai has got something right. Again, touch wood and fingers crossed. But tell us a little bit about how you've done it.
Yes, sir. Sir, in fact, first of all, at the outset, I would thank you from my heart for providing me this opportunity to present our Mumbai's COVID situation right from the day one. Sir, you must be remembering that last year, the COVID started all over the country in the month of March. And by April 15, Mumbai was like the hottest spot in the country. And Dharavi was on fire. And in the first week of May, when dead bodies started appearing on the roads and road dividers and hospitals with people lying on the floors, I was suddenly thrown into this as Commissioner BMC on 8th of May. At 7 p.m. in the evening, I took charge, and my first meeting was from 7 p.m. to about midnight, same day. Although those days, nobody would physically meet, I met 120 of my core team, my ward officers, deputy commissioners, assistant commissioners, joint commissioners, additional commissioners. And I said, there is no point meeting in the Zoom. I must have eyeball to eyeball contact with them, and let me tell them that we mean business now. And that evening, sir, we coined the term chase the virus. And I said, henceforth, nobody will sit hiding in his home, and we have to get out of the virus. If somebody is comorbid, some team member is of age and he has comorbidities, he can opt out of it. But once you opt in, then you will have no choice but to chase it. And then and that really became, sir, a turning point in Mumbai. Next morning, sir, within 16 hours of my joining, I entered the COVID ICUs of Sion Hospital, Nair Hospital, spent 53 minutes with COVID patient in the most infested area of COVID, ICU of COVID. And from there, sir, I went to Dharavi and did a 5-kilometer march in the containment zone there. And that was a turning point next day when 50,000 of my BMC field officers, they started coming on the roads. Earlier, everybody was hiding away, afraid of the virus. So this Chase the Virus became a great success. And then, sir, between 10th of May and say 20th of May, I had harrowing time because those days Mumbai was getting about 1,500 COVID positives every day. And this list of positives, emails would be flashed by the various testing labs to the patients around 7 p.m. When doctors were under fatigue, system, people were a little thake hue in the evening after office work. And suddenly then this 1,000-1,500 people and the relatives and their people on their behalf would start generating thousands of phone calls to one single control room in Mumbai. And by 8 o'clock, it will collapse, the control room.
If I may interrupt you,
Yes, sir.
How fatigued are you people now? Because it's been a relentless chase of the virus.
Absolutely not, sir. No fatigue at all. In fact, we are really boosted by what is happening in the last 1 month, the way the turnaround is happening. From 4th of April, there's continuous decline. The way positivity has gone down from 31% to almost 10.9% today morning, sir. The figures are going to come in the evening. And maybe we are in single digit in another 2-3 days. So this has really like boosted us. And personally, I have been running marathon races. I'm a national level swimmer, sir. I'm a yoga instructor. So I never have found fatigue at my own level, but my team is absolutely amazing, sir. And sir, that time when these phone lines would get jammed in the evening with thousands of phone calls, I would start getting phone calls from all over my honorable CM from New Delhi that what's happening, Mumbai, beds are exhausted, lines are not working, controller is not responding. So it was a harrowing time. And by 16th or 17th of May, I told my team, I said, I cannot survive like this every evening.
That was last year.
Last year, sir. I'll just spend 5 minutes on last year.
Yeah.
And from there, sir, I told my team, I said, this virus is not going to leave us so early. It is going to be a fight of 1 or 2 or maybe more years. And we must have our system in autopilots. Everything must happen on an autopilot manner. Rather than those days, we didn't have a dashboard to allot beds. We would ring up the hospital, give bed khali hai kya. So then things started changing. And the first game changer was, sir, I abolished the central control room. Just imagine in the middle of the pandemic, somebody abolishes the control room. Stakeholders, honorable opposition leaders, they told me that I am playing with fire. The only control room is abolished. The city will go unmanageable. But I told them, give me 15 days time. So what we did was, sir, we came with the idea of war rooms. My father being army officer, so I am used to those war ideas. So I said, it's a war going on. And we decided that Mumbai has 24 wards in a population of 16 million in under BMC and 406 square kilometers of area with almost 10 million population in slums who are highly, it was a hotspot those days. And we were getting about 300, 400 cases from Dharavi every day when I joined. So we created this war rooms, one in each ward war room having 10 doctors, 10 medical teams, 10 ambulances, 10 telephone operators, 30 telephone lines, and supporting staff. And these staff, the entire thing was changing every 8 hours, 3 shifts. So there I wanted, and each war room had a 10 online dashboards. We had created online dashboard at that time. And we had this 240 dashboards in 2410. In 3 shifts, 720 doctors sitting there, lotting beds. And then we needed about 900 doctors. Now where to get this huge lot of doctors? Immediately, sir, I started a WhatsApp campaign because I was Secretary Medical Education in 2011-12. I knew Maharashtra has 55 medical colleges. And every medical college has 200 boys and girls in the final year of MBBS internship who were sitting home in lockdown those days. In tribal areas, in rural areas, people from lower category. So in small towns, I said, you come to Mumbai, instead of 11,000 stipend, which you get in internship, I'll give you 50,000 rupees per month. BMC is a rich organization. I'll put you in 5-star hotels near to a ward room, free boarding and lodging. Please come and join me. And I'll give you non-COVID work in war room, in air-conditioned environment. So you'll be surprised, 1,100 doctors joined me. Such boys and girls.
If I may interrupt you, Dr. Devi Shetty has been suggesting this. Dr.
Yes,
Devi Shetty has been saying that today's headline headlines are oxygen shortage. The way it's going, in a few weeks, the headlines will be shortage of doctors, nurses, ICU personnel. And he's been suggesting that those who finish their final year and are waiting for exams, etc., or who are in their final year should not be drafted in doctors and nurses. It sounds like you will support that idea.
Sir, what he's suggesting, I read his article, we did the same thing exactly 1 year ago. He's suggesting that you get second, third year girls from nursing institutes, put them in the field. We already done it, 600 of them. He said you get these young interns. We already put 1,100 of them in our war rooms. We exactly did 1 year back what he suggested in the yesterday's article I read. Now, sir, these boys and girls, all 19, 20, 21 years old, when they started getting 50,000 pocket money with the free boarding and lodging, people on JW Marriott, Taj Mahal Hotel, these boys from tribal areas, rural areas, you could never imagine having that they'll be staying there one day, and they would the ward were only walking distance from there, 24 of them. So these 1,000 odd doctors started managing, and they're doing today also. And besides that, we told the transport commissioner, like we do in elections, I requisitioned 800 Innovas and Sumos, took them to a workshop, made a partition between driver and rest of the compartment. I said, COVID patients don't need stretchers. They just need to sit. I said, they just need to sit for half an hour and go to the hospital. So in 7 days, we created a pool of 800 ambulances. Then we went to Uber company. We just got their software platform, nothing else. And we put all these ambulances in Uber. And the system became very streamlined. And then, sir, I abolished the system of sharing a positive COVID report directly by the lab with the patient. We were the first city in India to do so. Now, recently, like the day we got 10,000, we're getting about 10,000 cases every day. So no patient was directly getting a positive report once his swab was taken. But say midnight, the positive report will come in a single line list to us from 55 test labs, 10,000 names at midnight to BMC headquarters. We had parked scores of doctors there who will clean this list. Now, cleaning the list means out of 10,000 positive names which came out of that particular day, there are certain RT-PCR tests for discharges. Certain they are meant for their wrong address of the neighboring district, like Thane or something. We cleaned the list. 6 a.m. we were ready. Then we had a world-class online real-time integrated dashboard of 172 hospitals, private and government put together. And system would split this 10,000 list into 24 wards. And each ward would get about 400 names. And each dashboard would get about 40 names only. Now, with 40 names, almost 35 would be asymptomatic. We were getting about 80% asymptomatic. So each doctor had to allot only 5 beds. Now, 8 o'clock in the morning, 240 calls at a time would start moving out. Asymptomatic would be home quarantine, and they would be told that they'll be called 5 times every day till they become negative. And if they develop symptom, we'll pick them up from the residence, allot them bed at the residence, and move them to the hospital. But symptomatic people, our ambulance would start moving, and we visit every patient, check his medical condition, whether he needs ICU bed, oxygen bed, or ventilator bed, what his oxygen level is, what his temperature is, what symptoms are. And then from his residence, our medical teams would call up these doctors on the dashboard with a 172 hospital dashboard there, and the bed is being allotted at the residence of the patient. And then the patient is put in that ambulance and put on the bed, on the hospital bed. And the hospitals have no role in this. They have surrendered all their powers to us. So we called this policy, chase the patient policy, right from chasing his test report, putting him in the hospital bed, everything BMC was doing. Now in this, the question of a patient ringing up the hospital, that bed hai kya, this became irrelevant. Because we said that when we are carrying beds to 100% patients, why should you call the hospital? So hospital was told that if any media, any person calls you, say there's no bed available, go to BMC. And now here I will salute the private sector in Mumbai, which is unlike in other cities of India. The major 35 hospitals, Breach Candy, Lilavati, Nanavati, Hinduja, Bombay Hospital, they surrendered all their 80% of their beds, 100% ICU to me on my dashboard. And they said, sir, we won't allot any bed, you do it for us.
I see.
And they, on 25th of May last year, the order came with their concurrence, with their support. And till today, that order is going on. 4,000 rupees for a COVID bed, 7,500 rupees for ICU bed, 9,000 rupees for ventilator bed, even in a place like Beach Candy. And they have taken hit of 700 crore rupees in Mumbai, but still they are, with a smile, they're serving us. So they became our backbone of support. And now today, if a patient goes to a government hospital like Sion or KM or Nair, or goes to ICE or Beach Candy, the bill is same. This is fantastic. Now, besides this, then 132 hospitals joined us in private sector, 35 major, almost 97, 98 small nursing homes and private small hospitals. This became a big blessing to us. And the hospital said, sir, you directly lock the bed. And when the patient is coming in the ambulance, as per your allotment, our medical team goes straight on the bed. There is no formality that hospital is going to admit him, or they have no role left except treatment. So this is very unique to Mumbai.
There is nobody waiting with a patient outside the hospital. Will you guarantee that?
Sir, now in this, it was very well drafted order, which took me 2-3 days. I'll share this order with you. It's very exhaustive model order, in which I said, in exceptional cases, if somebody's condition is deteriorating, you'll just directly walk into the hospital, any hospital. They will admit him and they'll just inform us, and we'll update our dashboard.
So you are not out of beds as yet.
Sir, so you will be surprised, sir, today when I'm talking to you, 5,500 beds, including almost 3,000 oxygen beds in Mumbai are lying vacant.
Mm-hmm. And
now, sir, yes.
But I still see a lot of buzz on social media from Bombay also. Can I get a cylinder? Can I get a hospital admission? Can I get so-and-so patient needs help? So it's
what happened? Yes, sir. So what happened that in the first wave, which came from last March till December, 95% people were coming from slums and 5% from non-slums. Slum people were very disciplined. They would never force the lab to share a positive report clandestinely with them. And they'll wait for an ambulance to come to their home and phone call to be made. And they were happy that in 24 hours time, a swab taken at 2 p.m., the report comes at midnight, next 8 a.m., he gets the phone call, and by 2 p.m., he's on the bed. So in 24 hours, from a swab to the bed is our turnaround time in Mumbai. But now the second wave, which came on 10th of February onwards, here 95% cases are coming from non-slums. Only 5% are coming from slums. You'll be surprised that containment zones on 10th of February were 170. Containment zones are only in slums. They came down crashing to 70 only. This is the kind of fall of cases in slums, even in this pandemic. Second wave.
How many were there earlier on 10th of February?
Sir, 170 containment zones were there in slums on 10th of February, which one time came to 70. Now they're 111 today. 111.
Yeah.
So continuous fall of cases in the slums, primarily because, sir, we have roughly 42% immunity in slums. Whereas in the first wave, hardly anybody from the middle class, upper class got immunity. Immunity was only 12% that time. Now in second wave, what has happened, sir? Many rich and super rich are getting positive, sir. Now these people, sir, they are so impatient. The moment the swab is taken, they put so much pressure on the labs. They start getting every day 10, 20, 30 of them. They are able to get a direct positive report without realizing that they'll become fish out of water the moment they get a direct report and they're out of the BMC network. What happens that supposing if I take a positive report today and I ring up any hospital, the instructions of BMC are that you will not allot any bed directly. And if you allot a bed, we'll prosecute you. We tell the hospital. We filed FIR also Nanavati Hospital for this. And we said, everybody has to be in the queue. Now, when they get positive reports, they start calling up hospitals. No hospital responds to them. They said, bed is not available. Then they take out to social media that I'm COVID positive. No, there's no bed in Mumbai. And at any point of time in the second wave, in the last 79 days, we were never less than 3,600 vacant beds at a time. 3,600 beds. But they won't get it because they would miss our 10,000 line list. And we will allot them beds to everybody. But these 10, 20, 30 people would be searching for beds. And I would also tell them that let them be punished because they're breaking our system.
Well, also because they're prominent people in Bombay, they'll have a favorite doctor. Somebody will call Dr. Odbadia. Somebody would call Dr. Shashank Joshi. They
Yeah.
all look like superstar doctors.
So then I told labs, I said, please, for heaven's sake, don't share these positive reports directly. Just imagine if 10,000 reports are shared, there'll be chaos in the city, which is happening in other cities of India. We say that we have handled 600,000 patients through these ward rooms in the last 1 year. And I stand guarantee that not even one we have missed out on the phone call. Otherwise, if you are handling 10,000 people, even 100 people are missed out, there'll be noise, they'll go to media. That's why swab was taken, report has not come. And then this report is coming through BMC. So the system is so efficient that we are able to cover all this 10,000 people, because every doctor on the dashboard gets few cases to ring up.
But when you get a positive report or negative report on BMC, you do inform the person right away.
Sir, what is happening, sir? We say that all the swabs collected from 000 hours to 2359 hours, their swabs must come. The swabs taken up to 2 p.m. they must come at midnight 000 hours or 2359 hours, and the swabs taken from 2 p.m. to say 10 p.m., 11 p.m., they must come at 6 a.m. At 8 p.m., we start breaking this news to all the patients.
Right.
Which means even if my swab is taken 10 p.m., 8 a.m., I get a phone call that I'm COVID positive, sitting home. But he doesn't get a direct communication from the lab that he's COVID positive.
Right.
In this, what happens is that nobody has to look for the bed. We go with the beds at to the residence of the patients. And since we have 240 doctors doing this job, and like I say, 10,000 list divided in 24, you get 400 per ward with 80% symptomatic. You get only about 7 or 8 people maximum per dashboard to allot a bed. So for a doctor, it takes maybe 3, 4, 5 hours to allot 7 beds. And in 7 beds, the entire 10,000 list is disposed of. So this system has been very, very efficient with small aberrations here and there. Of this one category who people jump to social media, these people who directly get reports and then they don't get beds. They are like a fish out of water in our system. And second category is, sir, somebody who's COVID positive, initially asymptomatic, and later on he becomes symptomatic after second or third or fourth day. Now we give him a choice that the control room will come to you and we will make you 5 phone calls every day till you become COVID negative. Some of them, out of anxiety, they start moving to hospitals because they feel that the condition, and rightly so, they think that the condition may go from bad to worse. Now, these people, when they go to bed, although we have instructions with the hospitals that such patients must be admitted with immediate intimation to our ward room so that we can update the dashboards. But in one category, what's happening, sir, the ICU beds. ICU beds, sir, we had initially 1,500 in Mumbai when the second wave came. Today we have 2,800, but still there is stress on ICU beds. And when such very super rich man, he walks to the hospital, irrespective of symptoms, he wants ICU only.
ICU bed.
And then the problem starts that ICU beds are not available. On one side, we have stress. I admit that sometimes hospitals are, because any patient getting on the ICU bed, he doesn't vacate it for 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
So turnaround time in ICU bed is quite 3 weeks time. Like today, I have only 52 ICU beds vacant in entire Mumbai and 2,750 occupied because the turnaround time is quite a lot. But I've been telling people that look, in this 300,000 plus cases in the second wave, 3.22 lakhs, only 2,000 people have gone to ventilator. 2,000 only, because this mutant virus.
Let's repeat that.
Sir, out of 3 lakh people in this second wave, almost 86% were asymptomatic, 86%.
Right.
And remaining 14%, which would be like 42,000 people, only 2,000 have gone to the ventilator stage.
So if I may get the averages right, of the 3.2 lakh people who tested positive in the second wave,
yes,
only
sir.
2,000 have needed the ventilator.
Yes, correct.
That is a little over 0.5%.
Yes, sir. And now, sir, it is point, I would say, it is like very small portion, 2,003 lakh. Now, I have been telling these people, I've been telling my doctors, we have regular Zoom meetings every day. I said, you must, the ward room doctors, must tell them that once you don't need a ventilator in ICU, you are in whether it's ICU or oxygen bed, both places you are on oxygen only. Where in ICU, you have a 24/7 doctor. In oxygen bed, you have doctor coming in once in 4 hours, 6 hours on a round. So this, besides this, if you don't need a ventilator, oxygen beds are as good as ICU beds. And this is how we have been able to allot hundreds of ICU beds to people who demanded ICU, hundreds of oxygen beds who demanded ICU bed. We saved their lives. Because if you keep on waiting for ICU bed, you may deteriorate and lose your life. It's better to maybe jump on the ICU, oxygen bed, especially in this condition where ventilators use was very few. So, but sir, it does happen every day that 10, 20, 30 such people do emerge who say that bed is not available. And I have given the reasons for that. Now, sir, in this entire system, especially, sir, there is an optimum utilization also of a bed, because supposing Mr. Chahal calls up, he says that I'm not feeling well, I have temperature, my oxygen level is falling, I need a ventilator bed. When our team visits him home, and for the ambulance, sir, that small ward is only Mumbai city. The ambulances don't go out of the ward to visit the patient from the ward room, because we have split Mumbai into 24 Mumbais. Each ward room is like a small Mumbai, that ward. And now, once we visit Mr. Chahal's house, they'll check my oxygen level, they'll check my temperature, they'll say your oxygen level is 94, 93, you don't need ICU bed. If my oxygen level is 60, 70, maybe I'll need ICU bed. So then the category gets decided, and it leads to optimum utilization of the bed category. And then we say that it is our team, medical team, who will decide what category of bed you are entitled to. But many times he ends up in the hospital, small private nursing home, and then starts tweeting that I want ICU bed, I want ICU bed in bigger hospital. That is another problem is happening. So these issues are otherwise this ward system, which has handled 600,000 patients, this is worked very well. And the best people to know the feedback of this functioning system is our slums, 10 million people. Because they are very disciplined, they're happy going to a jumbo or any government facility, and they don't complain. But this time, since 95% cases from non-slums, these issues did come up. But we have risen to the occasion, and ward rooms have been doing an outstanding job. Now, sir, next issue was what has really helped us in putting systems on autopilot. That we created. So we were the only one city in India, perhaps, to the best of my knowledge, when last year we found that India has limited testing. Unlike Europe, we can't test 100,000 every day. At that time, we had very few labs. Mumbai was testing just about 5,000 cases that day, that time in March, April, May. So we came with a very novel idea, sir. We said 2,000 oxygen beds in our jumbo hospitals will be suspected beds only. So if anybody whose test report is not taken, or his swab is taken and report has not come, or even swab is not taken. So these people, they should simply take auto rickshaw, taxi, or an ambulance and walk into these 7 jumbos spread all over Mumbai city, right from Dahisar to Mulund to BKC to Nesco, Worli. And deans were told that there'll be walk-in entry for them. They'll put on oxygen beds. They would be stabilized, RT-PCR test taken. If they are positive, they'll be move to the COVID bed. If they're negative, they'll be stabilized and sent home. So 20,000 such people we have saved, who had no report. They would have died waiting for the report or waiting for the swab to be taken. And so today also, 954 such people are on our suspected beds, and they're all oxygen beds. So this has really complemented our limited testing and taken care of this 20,000 people who otherwise would have been detected in some 2 lakh, 3 lakh testing. And though they were like so-called positives. But with the limited testing, this miracle worked. And today also, people really have appreciated this idea that if I'm feeling suddenly unwell, I'm gasping for breath, I'll take auto rickshaw, go to the nearest jumbo and get admitted there and go on the oxygen immediately. The doctor's dean doesn't ask, where is your audit, where is your COVID report, where is your swab taken or not. So this unique idea has been very successful here in Mumbai, sir. And that has really helped in mortality also.
I hope more cities follow it. But tell me, Iqbal, last year in the first wave, I know that BMC then was very active, very proactive, and Dharavi model was spoken about. A lot was done. We wrote about it also. But a lot of your people got infected. In fact, some unfortunately sacrificed their lives or lost their lives. How is your staff doing this year?
So, last year I joined on 8th of May, and 9th of May, I was told that almost 120 people of BMC have passed away, unfortunately, because of COVID. And on 11th of May, sir, I passed the landmark order in BMC. I said the Government of India insurance scheme of 50 lakh compensation insurance is only frontline workers, only doctors and nurses primarily. But what about my BEST bus driver who is carrying these doctors to their residence and hospital every day? He gets affected and he dies of COVID. So we said 100,000 employees of BMC, if anybody dies during this period, no question asked, he'll be given 50 lakh cash compensation from BMC coffers. And with retrospective effect of 1st March 2020.
I see.
Yes, sir. And sir, till today, we have lost 301 of our fellow colleagues, and we have distributed 150 crore rupees.
Now, if I may ask you, 301 of your colleagues, what is the strength of your staff? I know that BMC is bigger than many states.
Sir, we have 108,000 employees. And sir, this step of mine, and plus, sir, I will say we will give service to next of the kin also in BMC. So this really put a lot of confidence and courage in our staff and my colleagues. They knew that there's somebody to look after them. Even if a sweeper dies, he gets 50 lakh rupees, his family, immediately, with a assured naukri also. So,
right.
Yes,
So at this point, how many of your staff are sick?
Sir, total cumulative our casualties 301, and almost 8,000 of our employees became COVID positive. But I would say 90% of them, they were in the first wave only.
Right. But
and 10%.
In this stage, because what I'm coming to is vaccination. What percentage of your staff is vaccinated now? Sir,
in Mumbai, sir, I think perhaps we are the only one city which we have done 23 lakh vaccination. Our yesterday's figure was, sir, 23 lakh 50,000. And in this 23 lakh 50,000, we have covered 8 lakh plus senior citizens 60 plus. And in the first drive from 16th Jan 2021, we covered our frontline workers, health workers. Then on the 4th of February onward, we started frontline workers. And then later on, we started from 1st of March, people 45 plus comorbid, and then everybody 45 plus as per the directions of Government of India.
How effective has vaccination been among your staff? Because that's an available sample.
Sir, I must tell you that the mortality has gone drastically down. And if you see our figures for the last, say, 15 days, the contribution of mortality 60 plus is much less than it used to be earlier because of this vaccination of roughly 8 lakh people in that category, sir.
Now, no, your own staff, have you found infection rates going down, or have you also found people who got vaccinated twice still getting infected?
Sir, not even one person after 2 doses and 15 days after that, when you develop antibodies, not even one such case.
Well, I think that needs an applause. I hope the entire country watches this. That you have a staff of 108,000. Not a single person after 15 days have passed. After 15 days have passed, following the second dose has got infected.
And people are getting, sir, vaccine after first dose. People are getting COVID after first dose, and some are getting immediately after second dose. But sir, they don't reach the ICU.
That's right.
So I must use your platform to literally pray to people with folded hands that vaccine is the ultimate solution. Even if don't get carried away that after COVID, after vaccine also you get COVID, but the gravity is drastically reduced. Even if you would get COVID after 1 dose or 2 doses.
And that will also be rare cases.
Yes, very rare, sir. And that is why I say, sir, although our first wave got 3 lakh 13,000 cases, and the second wave is now 3 lakh 22,000 cases, but the mortality and the positivity was 90%, 10%. You see the difference.
So maybe I'll join you and I will also fold my hands to everybody and say, please get vaccinated as soon as it's available. Whatever vaccine is available, every vaccine will save not only our lives, but our families, our neighbors, our friends' lives, and plus also reduce the strain on the health system.
And sir, one more thing I must share with you. Now, sir, in the month of last June, July, August, we were getting about 100 casualties, deaths every day. And sir, one day I must share with you that one of our honorable former CMs rang me in the evening that one of their ex-MPs had passed away, and he's at Chandanwadi crematorium, and there's a huge waiting list there. And could you kindly get the cremation done faster? So when I rang up the ward officer, he said, "Sir, 5 dead bodies already in the queue, and I can't break the queue. There'll be lot of situation there." That night I couldn't sleep. I said, we must do something. I said, look, I could never imagine in my lifetime that an honorable former CM would request me to cremate somebody early. This was something unheard of, at least to me. I said, this cannot function. Immediately, sir, within 3 days of that, I got in touch with IIT Mumbai, and we made an online dashboard for crematoriums. And sir, now if any patient dies, his relatives informed, and the doctors in the hospital ask him that tomorrow what time is suitable to you. If you're going to Chandanwadi, we have these slots available. And depending upon the patient, supposing I say, look, give me a slot at 12:30 to 1:30. So I'll reach there at 12:15. The body will come at 12:30, and I'll be free by 1 o'clock. There'll be no crowding there. We have 47 crematoriums in Mumbai, sir, all working on this dashboard.
What percentage of your above 60 population is now vaccinated, Mumbai?
Sir, we have 23 lakh people, 60 plus. Roughly 8.5 lakhs are vaccinated. But majority of this, sir, our slum population, which accounts for 14-15 lakh, since they got herd immunity, it was say 56% one time, then 45%, now it's 42%. The latest Zero survey issued 4 days back. There is a sluggishness there. They have not been coming out for vaccination. In this massive drive now, sir, we are going to open centers in all these areas and vaccinate them. But most of this vaccination in the middle class, upper class, sir.
Do you have enough vaccinations now? Enough vaccines?
That's an issue. Earlier, as you know equally well, that the government of India had monopoly over procurement and distribution of vaccine from the 2 companies, Serum and Hyderabad. And right from January 16 till today, whatever stock has come to us, it has come to us from Government of India. But right now, Government of India has very kindly issued instructions that from 1st of May, 50% procurement will go to state governments and through state governments, and 50% Government of India, which means that this 45 plus stock will come from Government of India, and 18 to 45, we will have authority that our state government can directly buy from these companies, or they can issue global bid, and they can buy somewhere like Sputnik or somebody. So our honorable chief secretary formed a committee, and we are planning for a global bid also. So this channel will open up now, but availability is an issue, and I hope it will be resolved in the coming times.
See, on a day like today, what's your target for vaccinations today?
Sir, right from last 1 month, when central government teams have visited us, they have been visiting us on a fortnightly basis since this wave started on 10th of February. And I have been always highlighting 3 issues with them, very humbly. Number one, I have told them that you increase our vaccination centers. And the guidelines of Government of India said that those hospitals, private hospitals, which are less than 100 beds, they can't be vaccination centers, even though if they have ICUs and everything. So I was trying to impress upon them that if somebody has 70, 80 beds with 10, 20 ICU, please allow them also. Second, my request would be that allow me door-to-door vaccination, which also still the issue is not worked out. And but now Government of India has given us a way out of that. The Government of India has said that if lakhs of housing societies, thousands of workplaces, hundreds of corporate houses, if they tie up with any hospital, which is a vaccination center, and I'm going to make 400 vaccination centers in Mumbai, then they can have ambulance link, and the hospital staff can go to that building or that office and vaccinate everybody there. And if somebody has adverse reaction, the ambulance will carry them to the hospital in 5 minutes. So that system we are starting.
So
That will-
basically, ambulance becomes the link between the vaccination place and the ICU, because that is the law, that is the
Yes, sir.
regulation. that
Yes,
in
sir.
case of adverse event, up to ICU level facilities.
Yes, sir. Now, it was very kind enough of Government of India that they have given us this leverage, and I'm going to convert this leverage into tsunami of vaccination. Because technically, in this, you just need one ambulance to vaccinate the entire office. It is as good as door-to-door vaccination. And I've told private, I'm getting 150 private hospitals on board now to make them vaccination centers, because now Government of India has given authority to us only to sanction new vaccination centers. So this will lead to maybe hundreds of vaccination centers every day.
But when do you expect the new doses?
Sir, our state government is in touch with the Serum Institute and Hyderabad Institute. I am told that now the raw material issues have been resolved. Even personally, I'm in touch with Mr. Adar Punawala, who's a friend of mine. They have a capacity of almost 8 to 9 crore vaccines per month. And once they get going, it won't be difficult for them to spare maybe 1 or 2 crore from Maharashtra state.
Does he run with you also?
No, he doesn't run with me, but I know him quite well.
Okay. Now, I'll take some questions from our guests. Usually, we would have done it with an audience and,
Yes.
and then something as host. But unfortunately, right now, we are all locked up. So, Dr. Shailesh Raina, who you might know, who's a well-known urologist in Bombay, I think at Jaslok and some other places. So, he wants to know, he's director of urology at renal transplantation at Jaslok. He says, I want to first thank Mr. Chahal for the work he's doing. Will he be making sure that the health budget is increased double-fold? And how prepared are we for the third surge, if any? Because you
Yes,
are a rich corporation. You just said that BMC is rich. So why don't you increase your health budget?
Yes, sir. I'll answer this question in 2 parts. Very good question. Thank you very much. First, the increasing budget. I presented the budget in the month of February 2021. This was the first budget which I presented in BMC. And there I have increased the health budget from almost 1,100 crore to 4,600 crores this year. There has been almost 4 times jump in the health budget of BMC. And secondly, what was the second question, sir? He asked.
The second question was, how prepared are we for the third surge when that comes?
Yes, sir. In fact, sir, 15 days back, sir, Honorable CM Maharashtra took a meeting on Mumbai only, and he instructed us that let us prepare for the third wave. And 10 days back, sir, we started constructing 4 new jumbo hospitals, absolutely greenfield. One in Malad, one in Kanjurmarg, one in Sion, this Maya grounds in Sion Hospital area, and 4th in, sir, our Worli Race Course. Everywhere, sir, we are constructing 2,000 beds, 70% oxygen beds, 200 ICU in each of these 4 places. So all these will be ready by 20th of May. By 20th of May, another 3 weeks from now, we will add 800 ICU. And sir, we'll add about 6,000 beds, 6,500 beds, out of which 70% beds would be oxygenated beds. And these 3 jumbos in Malad, Kanjurmarg, and sir, Sion, it will be having a capacity to add 2,000 beds each more if the need comes. So our dashboard, which is about 22,000 beds today, will go beyond 30,000 beds in 3 weeks' time. And we've already procured ICU material like ventilators and suction machines, monitors. The tendering started about 10 days back. And these 4 jumbos, which is coming up, each of them will have a oxygen plant, sir. In-house oxygen generation plant. They will not get even a single unit from outside. And we will make sure that they start functioning from 20th of May. We expect that the second wave comes, it may come in June, July. So this is our preparation for the third wave if it comes to Mumbai, adding on roughly 800 new ICU and adding on roughly 8,000 new beds with 7,000 oxygen beds and in-house oxygen plants.
And a lot of these personnel to man these you will supplement with your students, final year students.
Sir, you will be happy to know that this time we are doing another unique model. We have decided that first we have about 500 MBBS graduates who just graduated from KM, Nair, Sion, Cooper hospitals. So we said that you are our people only, we'll give you very hefty salaries and you stay with us. And they will be too happy. they're already in the WhatsApp group with mine now. Another week's time, we'll be giving them appointment orders, and they'll get much more what they're getting anywhere else. Secondly, sir, we are now issuing expression of interest, and we're inviting our 35 major hospitals like Breach Candy or Jaslok or Nanavati or Lilavati or Hinduja or Bombay Hospital or Fortis or Wockhardt, that you take over these jumbos, and we will give you all the equipment. We'll give you right from ventilator to everything. We'll give you. You run this as an additional attachment of your hospital, one jumbo each. And in fact, this feeler came from them only to me, because we are great friends. Because since last 1 year, people who've taken 700 crore hit for me, you can imagine that the level of friendship, and they want to go on and on. And Mumbai, you hardly get a complaint that somebody is being overcharged in the hospitals, even in top hospitals like Breach Candy or Hinduja or Nanavati, Lilavati. Now, if say one jumbo is taken by Bombay Hospital, one say by Hinduja, one by Breach Candy, people will have a lot of trust in them, that they are extensions of the existing reputed major hospitals. So we will help them with some MBBS doctors. Even they can also find some avenues. So these 4 jumbos, we'll try to make them extensions of major hospitals. And the first time we are trying this new idea, sir. If we fail, then we have our own system.
Do you have a vaccination target for the month of May?
Sir, what we have done is, sir, 3 days back, we took a decision to start. We have 227 honorable Nagar Sevaks in Mumbai, that honorable corporators. Each corporator has a constituency of 40,000 to 50,000 people who are voters 18 plus. And we have roughly equal number of health posts in Mumbai. That health post is one room thing where one nurse sits. So it is below our peripheral hospitals. We have medical colleges came, Nair Science, Seven Hills or Cooper. And then we have peripheral hospital like Rajawadi or Shatabdi. And then we have the health posts. So these health posts, we are saying that we will declare every health post as a vaccination center. So 227 vaccination centers will be in place in next 3 days' time. And we have involved our honorable municipal corporators that they should organize and mobilize these people, especially from slums, and bring them to these centers. We'll be selecting big halls in the vicinity. We'll have ambulance linked there also to some small hospital in that area. So these 227 brand new centers are coming up, all BMC owned. Because we already had 63 BMC centers functioning, and we are taking private hospital centers from 73 to 150, because remaining 150 minus 73, they're already with us on the dashboard. We just need to involve them in vaccination.
But the important thing will be how many doses will you get? Because I know the doses you get, you will administer. But in the month of how many? Our plan is, that this vaccination drive may not start from 1st of May, to be very frank with you. Right.
It may start around 20th of May, to the best of my knowledge. And and sir, we are planning about. We have 80 lakh population in this target, 18 plus in Mumbai. And out of the 80 lakhs, sir, we need 1.6 crore doses. 23 lakh we already done. So roughly 1.4 crore doses more we need. And now with our capacity, we can do easily 2 lakh per day. And we can do 60 lakh per month. So virtually in 90 days time, we can actually cover the entire target group of 18 plus in Mumbai. And I have told my honorable CM, sir, I said, if you can assure me this 1.4 crore doses, maybe from Serum Institute, who have almost 8 to 9 crore monthly production capacity, or Hyderabad Institute, or some global tendering from Sputnik or somewhere, in 3 months' time, Mumbai can become fully vaccinated, sir.
What's the full population under BMC areas now?
Sir, it's 1.6 crores.
1.6. So that's less than Delhi, but Delhi is a state.
Yes, sir. Because Delhi, if you add the peripheral population, it becomes more. Like in Mumbai, if you add our MMR population, then it becomes 4 crores.
That's right. That is different. But that in Delhi, then you can go to NCR. So that's
yes.
Districts from Haryana, UP,
Correct,
everybody. Not that. So anyway, so next question I have is from Prabodh Thakkar, who's chairman of Global Insurance Brokers Limited, and he wants to know 2 things. One is to do with the current situation in a way. One, little bit different, but both about BMC. So one question is that you have more than 59,000 crores in your treasury, but not a single new municipal hospital for such a long time. And also that BMC schools are dying. And with that is also linked his second question, that why are Bombay's roads always dug up? Why are they always in repair mode?
Sir, I'll answer the three questions. Number one, like I just said, that we hiked our health budget from 1,000 crore to 4,600 crores. And this year we have planned to build 15 more hospital buildings in Mumbai. And work is already now in advanced stage. Like, for example, brand new Sion Hospital building, 400 crores, work has already gone. The work has started there. And we have really expanded the Seven Hill Hospital into like AIIMS of Mumbai, which has now 1,600 beds functioning and very high reputation. Everybody wants to get into that hospital. Then, sir, regarding schools of Mumbai, I agree that, sir, a lot needs to be done. What we did this year, that we decided to start number of CBSE and ICSE schools in under a BMC. So this year, to begin with, 20 schools of CBSE and 20 of ICA have been started. And I have changed the name from municipality school. We have said they are Mumbai public schools. So they have been renamed this year in my budget speech, that all our schools will be Mumbai public schools. And I am personally looking to this. We have now an IAS officer, a joint commissioner who looks after education only. And we have told them whether it's iPads or it is software or it is online teaching or it is some digital learning. We are, you give us 1 or 2 years time, you'll see the difference.
Yeah. That's excellent. Now I have a question from, but the roads, which is a big.
Yeah. So roads, what has happened that in Mumbai in the last 3 years, number of metro lines are under construction. For example, line number 6, line number 3, line number 10, this Scuff Parade to Borivali metro, and almost underground. Then you have, sir, Andheri Ghatkopar. Then you have, sir, this Powai to Thane. So tremendous amount of metro works are going on. Almost 150 underground stations work is going on metro. And they are underground metro station, 3 stories, but they're all open from top. So this has created a lot of construction activity. Then we have a huge coastal road going on, 13,000 crore project. And work is going at lightning speed. We have done 25% of the physical work now. And out of 21% out of 25 has happened in the last 9 months of my tenure. And we spent 2,000 crore rupees in the last 9 months. And work is going in 24 hours and 3 shifts. Then, sir, recently the government came with this idea of, we have 3 electric companies in Mumbai. The Adani Power in suburbs, then Tata's in Chembur side, and BEST, our own concern in South Mumbai. Now the choice was given to the consumer by the Energy Regulatory Commission that the consumer must have a choice. He can take connection for any of these 3. Now that single order of that regulator, it has led to, say, Adani digging up all roads in South Mumbai and putting his cables there. Or Tata putting up cables in South Mumbai, or Tata putting up cables in suburban western suburbs of Mumbai. So you see hundreds and hundreds of diggings are there where these cables are being put up because of competition, and they want to have more and more captive customers, things like that. And plus we have a ruthless monsoon. Last time I knew we had a near cyclone, we have repeated floods, we had COVID, I was running around everywhere those 4 or 5 months. So we were literally battered by the monsoon. So all these 3 put together, it does have an impact on the roads. But this year, we have a target of conversion of 169 kilometers of roads into concrete roads in Mumbai. And we are slowly trying to convert every road of Mumbai into concrete road.
Then they want to have the potholes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, Mansi Fatke, who's our editor in Bombay, she wants to know, she wants to ask you, did the BMC anticipate a second wave, or were you taken by surprise?
No, sir, we did. In fact, sir, the only reason why Mumbai did not dismantle any of its jumbo facility, is the first direct proof that we are anticipating another wave. In fact, Nesco, which has Goregaon, which has 3,000 beds, 224 ICU. At one time in January, it had only 3 patients. The dean came to me. He said, I have only 3 patients in 2,500 bed capacity in 224 ICU. I said, no, you will continue this. This was January only, sir. It was a month before the wave came. And these 9,000 beds in our 7 jumbos with 612 ICU and dialysis beds, not even one bed was closed, even if we were getting just 200 cases, 300 cases in November, December, and January, sir. So we were anticipating this second wave. In fact, we are anticipating a third one also. That is why Honorable CM has directed us that build a couple of new jumbos also.
Mm-hmm. So she wants to also know, do you think the burst for Mumbai is over now?
Sir, we are slowly getting out of the, we are very slowly, but surely getting out of the woods. For example, sir, let me share you with you today's figures. Today, sir, yesterday and day 4, our positivity was 12.5%. Today morning, the figures which have come will be announced in the evening. We got 4,151 positives. We had 39,000 testing, and our positivity has come down to 10.5%. And I am sure in another 3 to 4 days, we'll be in single digit. And one time, the positivity was 31%. The figures speak for themselves.
As it is in Delhi right now. Delhi is 30+% consistently now.
And sir, I must share one very important statistics with you. The second wave in Mumbai, sir, started on 10th of February, and the dashboard, it came on 11th of February. And today is exactly 79 days. So in 79 days, sir, we got 3.22 lakh cases, 3,22,000. Sir, in Mumbai, we have 1,512 deaths in this 3.22 lakhs. If you calculate as a percentage, this works to 0.4% fatality or mortality, which I can safely claim to be lowest in any city of the world as of today.
Lowest to the city. In India, it compares with Kerala, the state, which has also high number of cases. That tells you that if there is sufficient medical intervention available in time, a lot more lives can be saved. So would you have any advice for Delhi? Because Delhi is the one which is suffering so much right now, continuing with 30+ positivity rate and so many deaths.
So last year, in the month of May, we realized that Mumbai has about 10,000 people who are on permanent dialysis. I am sure the figure may be bigger in Delhi.
Right.
And so what was happening that we found that almost 125 such people have passed away in March, April, and May, because what happened that when they got COVID positive, in great hurry, they were admitted to some hospital, and later on, they couldn't undergo dialysis because that hospital didn't have facility for dialysis. And since they were isolated in that great clamor, the patient passed away and they were reported as COVID deaths. So when this came to our knowledge, sir, we again got in touch with IIT Mumbai, and they made a world-class portal for us, which is known as covidialysis.in. And we call it Project Victory. Now, for this 10,000 people in Mumbai, sir, who are in permanent dialysis, they need to go for dialysis twice a week.
Right.
Now supposing somebody is on permanent dialysis and he becomes COVID positive, unless his dialysis is taken care of on a bi-weekly basis in that particular hospital, he will not survive.
Right.
And since he's isolated, he cannot be carried here and there. So what we did was, sir, we put 103 hospitals on this list, and we trained equal number of technicians for dialysis work, and we placed them in 7 days' time in these hospitals. And then we created an online portal accessible to roughly 70 nephrologists of Mumbai who are handling this 10,000 patients as the family doctors. Now, supposing if I was in permanent dialysis and I became COVID positive, and I would be allotted on those 103 hospitals only. And once I land in there, sir, I need to just make a phone call to my family doctor, who will open his portal and tell me that tomorrow in your hospital, 2 or 1 or 3 machines are there. On machine number 2, these 2 slots are vacant. Which one slot you want? I'll give him a choice. And the moment, sir, he punches it, I get SMS on my phone which I show to the technician in that hospital, and he carries me to the dialysis at the appointed time. And with this facility, sir, we have ensured that out of roughly 1,800 people who became COVID positive, who are on permanent dialysis, because of non-dialysis, there was zero fatality, sir. And then, sir, we had another category, people who are suspected. Supposing I'm in permanent dialysis and suddenly I have a cough or I feel a little unwell and I go to hospital, the hospital is too afraid to touch me. They say that you are now suspected COVID. Please don't come here, you'll infect our dialysis machine. Now, I can't go to non-COVID facility also because I don't have a non-COVID COVID negative report. And I can't go to COVID also because I may become COVID there. Now, if my report doesn't come for 2-3 days, what do I do with my dialysis? So for that, sir, we created again 2 suspected hospitals for cases, 2 hospitals, one Chembur and one Ghatkopar. And again, online, sir. Supposing I go to my, say, my hospital, Hinduja, in the morning, and they refuse to admit me saying, you are look suspected, I will simply drive in to that suspected place where they will do my dialysis without any question asked whether you are COVID or non-COVID. And they will sanitize the machine once I am out, and the next suspected patient can come in. And even these allotments started happening online, sir, through your family doctors. So this Project Victory has been a great success, the online functioning between the patient and his family doctor for all 10,000 patients on permanent dialysis in Mumbai, sir.
So maybe I have a last question from Ruhi Tiwari, my colleague, who wants to know that Delhi's health infrastructure is collapsing. What lessons can Delhi draw from Mumbai on how to bend the curve?
Sir, I would very humbly submit that this fight has to be highly decentralized. And this ward war room strategy can really work, sir. It may take time, but these waves keep on coming. And in Mumbai, it took us just 14 days to establish this ward war room, sir. Basically, you have to take one hall and tell MTNL to put 30 lines in one day and deploy 10 doctors there and 10 teachers there or 10 telephone operators there and park 10 ambulances there and medical teams and PPE kits there from your health staff and prepare an online dashboard which already must be existing. And then the ward room starts functioning. And what happens is that the patient doesn't run throughout the city. He gets tied up in the ward only. So this decentralized fight is very important when you're getting thousands of cases and single control room is not able to handle. And of course, the system does take time to build up, but I think that this is one good suggestion I would like to make, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I would say keep up the good work, and you are also a good evangelist for vaccination program. I hope you say this more often, and I hope more people listen to this. Of your 1,09,000 or 8,000 employees, 15 days after the second shot, nobody's fallen sick. So that also speaks very well for both these India-made vaccines. So Mr. Iqbal Chahal, thank you very much, and many congratulations and the best wishes to you.
Thank you very much. Grateful to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The Print off the Cuff, presented by IIFL Wealth and Asset Management, corporate partner AU Small Finance Bank, in association with global insurance brokers, airline partner SpiceJet, in association with Jindal Steel and Power Limited.